You've been looking at yourself the wrong way for too long. You keep replaying the same version of you from years ago, the one who made mistakes, who failed, who fell short, and you've allowed that old image to shape your present. You wake up, look in the mirror, and all you see is the reflection of who you used to be, not who you're becoming. And that's why you can't move forward, because you're fighting to grow while still carrying the image of the old you. You've been trying to walk into a new season with an old vision. You keep seeing yourself through the lens of your pain, not your potential. You gotta understand something. Your reflection is not your reality. That mirror on the wall, it shows your face, not your future. It shows your form, not your fire. What's inside you is bigger than what's staring back at you. You've been letting your failures define your faith. You've been measuring your progress by your scars instead of your strength. But it's time to stop seeing what's missing and start seeing what's possible. Stop saying, I'm not where I want to be, and start saying, I'm not where I used to be. That small shift in perspective, that's where the breakthrough begins. See, the problem is most people never outgrow their own self-image. They change their clothes, their job, their city, but they don't change their mindset. They still see themselves as unworthy, undeserving, unlucky, and because that's what they see, that's what they live. You can't build a new life on a broken vision. If you keep seeing yourself as small, your actions will follow that belief. You'll shrink when you should stand tall. You'll doubt when you should decide. You'll quit when you should push. That's why it's so important to change how you see you. The way you view yourself sets the ceiling for your success. Some of you are carrying shame like it's part of your identity. You've convinced yourself that your mistakes disqualify you. You've accepted your past like it's a life sentence. But what if I told you that everything that broke you was actually building you? That every failure was shaping your character? You keep wishing it didn't happen, but without those storms, you wouldn't have the strength you have right now. You're not damaged, you're developed. You're not broken, you're becoming. You don't have to keep apologizing for who you were when you didn't know better. Growth means you look back and see progress, not punishment. You've got to start looking in the mirror and seeing potential instead of pain. When you wake up, you should look at your reflection and say, there's greatness in me. Even when you don't feel it, say it. Even when it doesn't look like it, declare it. Because how you see yourself determines how you show up. If you see yourself as capable, you'll move like it. If you see yourself as chosen, you'll stop chasing validation. If you see yourself as powerful, you'll stop begging for permission. You've got to believe you're enough before the world ever confirms it. You can't step into your purpose dragging the version of you that's afraid, insecure, and unsure. That version was necessary for your past. It protected you when you didn't know your worth. But now it's holding you hostage. It's time to let it go. It's time to forgive yourself for everything you didn't know, for everything you didn't do, for every time you settled for less. You can't heal while hating who you used to be. You've got to thank that version of you because they survived long enough to bring you here. Now it's your job to evolve. And listen, changing the way you see yourself doesn't mean ignoring your flaws. It means understanding that your flaws don't define your value. Diamonds are still valuable with rough edges. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to be progressing. When you start to see yourself as a work in progress instead of a finished product, you stop comparing your journey to everyone else's highlight reel. You start appreciating your pace, your process, your path, because you finally realize you're not behind, you're becoming. I need you to clean your mirror, wipe off the fog of fear, the dust of doubt, the fingerprints of failure. Look again, really look. You'll see someone who's been through pain and still showed up. someone who's been overlooked but never gave up, someone who's been doubted but still kept going. That's not weakness, that's resilience, that's power. That's who you are, and once you see that person clearly, you'll never question your worth again. Don't let the reflection of yesterday blind you from the vision of tomorrow. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the story of your recovery. You are not defined by where you started. You are defined by how you refuse to stop. Every time you rise after falling, every time you try again after failing, every time you believe again after being broken, that's transformation. That's growth, that's self-belief in action. So stop waiting for someone else to tell you who you are. Stop giving your reflection more authority than your faith. The moment you start seeing yourself differently, the world will start responding differently. Because the world doesn't change first, your vision does. When you start seeing yourself as valuable, opportunities find you. When you start seeing yourself as powerful, fear loses its voice. When you start seeing yourself as enough, life opens up. You've been looking at yourself like a survivor. It's time to start seeing yourself like a creator. You were never meant to just get through life. You were meant to build something with it. The world is waiting for you to see what it already sees: greatness, strength, purpose. Change the way you see yourself, and you'll change everything that's connected to you. Because when your vision shifts, your life follows. You've been trying to change your life without realizing that the real fight isn't outside of you. It's inside your head. The battlefield is in your mind. Every thought, every doubt, every fear, every insecurity, that's where the war is happening. You think your circumstances are stopping you, but it's not your situation that's holding you back, it's your thinking. You can't win the fight for your future if you've already lost the fight in your mind. You keep saying you want change, but your thoughts keep whispering you can't. You keep praying for opportunities, but your mindset keeps rejecting them because you don't believe you deserve them. The truth is, your mind is either your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness, and right now, it's time to choose which one it's gonna be. Every day you wake up, your mind starts talking before your mouth does. It tells you who you are, what you can do, and what you're worth. And if you've been feeding it fear, it's gonna give you excuses. If you've been feeding it faith, it's gonna give you courage. See, your mind takes orders from your beliefs. If you tell yourself you're tired, your body follows. If you tell yourself you can't do it, you won't even try. But when you start training your mind to see possibilities instead of problems, something shifts. You start moving different. You start working different. You start expecting more from yourself, and you stop settling for less. I need you to understand, your mind will always try to protect you from pain, even if it means protecting you from progress. It's designed to keep you comfortable, not to make you great. So every time you decide to step out of your comfort zone, that little voice in your head starts screaming, what if you fail? What if you fall? What if it doesn't work? But you gotta talk back. You gotta say, what if I fly? What if it does work? What if this time I win? Because the moment you take control of that conversation, you take control of your destiny. You can't silence fear, but you can out-talk it. You can't erase doubt, but you can drown it in truth. You've got to be louder than the lies your mind tells you. Too many people lose the battle before it begins because they let negative thoughts set the tone for their entire day. They wake up defeated before they even start. But if you can change your first thoughts, you can change your first moves. When your alarm goes off, instead of saying, I don't feel like it, start saying, I'm built for this. Instead of thinking, this is too hard, say, this is my opportunity to grow. You have to reprogram your mindset every single morning. You have to choose power over pity, growth over comfort, purpose over excuses. Because your mind doesn't automatically believe in you, you've got to train it to. You can't feed your mind negativity all day and expect to live a positive life. You can't scroll through comparison, complain about your situation, and then wonder why you don't feel motivated. What you consume controls what you create, so start being intentional about what you let in. Fill your mind with things that lift you up, not tear you down. Read, listen, learn, pray, meditate, whatever it takes to strengthen your focus. Because once your mindset becomes disciplined, your emotions stop running your life. You stop reacting and you start responding. You stop being moved by problems and you start being guided by purpose. See, once your mind believes something is possible, your body will find a way to make it happen. That's why you've got to start visualizing your success before it happens. You've got to see yourself winning before you actually win. Close your eyes and picture it, not just the end result, but the journey, the grind, the obstacles you overcame. Feel it, live it in your mind first, because when you can see it here, you can create it out there. That's not motivation, that's mental alignment. When your mind and your purpose are in agreement, nothing can stop you. Some of you are still trapped because you've built walls in your mind that don't even exist in real life. You've convinced yourself it's too late, it's too hard, it's too much, but none of that is true. It's just the story you keep telling yourself. You've got to rewrite that story. You've got to look at your challenges and say, this isn't the end of me, this is the making of me. Stop letting fear narrate your life. Start letting faith speak. Stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I'm learning how. Stop saying, it's impossible, and start saying, it's in process. Because when you change your words, you change your world. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you think about it. And the way you think about it will determine how you handle it. You can see an obstacle as a wall or as a workout. One stops you, the other strengthens you. You decide. That's why mindset is everything. You can't have victory in your life when you're still accepting defeat in your mind. Every great comeback started with a thought that said, I'm not done yet. Every champion had to fight the voice that said, you'll never make it. So I'm asking you right now, which voice are you listening to? The one that tells you you're limited, or the one that tells you you're limitless? The one that reminds you of your past, or the one that pushes you toward your purpose? Because both voices live in your mind, but only one leads to greatness. The mind is the battlefield, and it's time to fight for your freedom. It's time to stop being a prisoner of your own thoughts. It's time to take back control. When you start winning in your mind, you'll start winning in your life. Because once your mindset shifts, everything else follows. The victory starts within. You've spent too much of your life waiting for somebody else to tell you you're enough. Waiting for somebody to clap for you, to notice you, to validate what you already know deep down inside, that you were made for more. You've been craving approval from people who can't even see their own value. You've been chasing validation in a world that changes its standards every day. One moment they love you, the next they forget you. You've been building your confidence on something that was never meant to be your foundation, opinions. But I'm telling you right now, you can't build your identity on applause because applause fades. You can't let someone's silence make you question your purpose. There comes a point where you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm done waiting for permission to be who I am. You've got to approve yourself first. You've got to be the one to say, I'm proud of me. Stop giving other people the power to decide your value. The truth is, the reason you keep doubting yourself is because you keep outsourcing your confidence. You're expecting the world to clap for work it doesn't even understand. But when you know your worth, when you know what you carry, you stop needing everyone to agree with it. You stop explaining your vision to people who can't see it. When you live for validation, you lose yourself trying to please everyone else. You start dimming your light just so others feel comfortable. You start saying yes to things that drain you because you're afraid of being misunderstood. You stop walking in confidence and start walking in confusion. But when you finally realize that your value isn't up for debate, something powerful happens. You start moving different. You stop chasing people who don't clap for you. You stop begging for a seat at the table and start building your own. See, you've been conditioned to believe that your worth depends on performance, that you're only valuable when you're winning, when you're achieving, when you're perfect. But real worth doesn't disappear when you fail. It shows up when you rise. You don't become valuable when you accomplish something. You were valuable the day you were born. You just forgot it because the world kept teaching you to prove what was already true. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You just have to own it. Stop letting rejection rewrite your story. Just because someone didn't see your vow, you doesn't mean it wasn't there. Some people are blind to brilliance. That's not your fault. Some people can't handle your growth, so they minimize it. Let them. Stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never built for your kind of greatness. The right people, the right opportunities, the right doors, they'll recognize what's real. But until they do, keep walking in your truth. You don't need validation when you have vision. When you start validating yourself, everything changes. You stop asking, "Am I good enough?" and start declaring, "I am enough." You stop waiting for someone to recognize your potential and start living like you already have it. That's the shift. That's the moment you stop being controlled by other people's opinions, because approval is addictive. Once you start depending on it, you'll keep needing more of it to feel worthy. But once you get your approval from within, no amount of criticism can shake you. You've got to learn to clap for yourself when no one else does. You've got to learn to celebrate your small wins when nobody notices. You've got to believe in your dream even when it looks crazy to everybody else. The truth is, most people won't understand your vision until it's successful. They'll question your choices, your path, your purpose, until the results speak for themselves. But you can't wait until then to believe in yourself. Belief has to come before the breakthrough. And listen, validation doesn't just come from people. Sometimes you're waiting for life to validate you. You're waiting for a title, for money, for the perfect moment to finally say, "Now I'm worthy." But worthiness isn't earned, it's recognized. You don't need the world to crown you before you walk in confidence. You don't need the job, the car, the applause. You need to decide that you're already enough. Because when you start carrying yourself like you belong, the world starts treating you like you do. You've been trying to fill an inner void with outer approval, and that's why it never lasts. You get the compliment, but it fades. You get the recognition, but it doesn't feel complete. Because validation that comes from outside never reaches the inside. You can only fix that from within. That's why you have to start talking to yourself differently. Start affirming who you are before the world ever does. You've got to speak over yourself, not with arrogance, but with authority. I'm capable. I'm chosen. I'm called. I'm enough. That's not ego. That's alignment. When you approve yourself, you don't need to compete. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's timeline. You understand that your path, your pace, your process, it's all yours for a reason. You start walking in peace instead of pressure, and that peace, that quiet confidence, it's unshakable. Stop trying to prove them wrong and start proving yourself right. Stop trying to show the world who you are and start being who you are. You don't need to announce it. Your growth will speak for itself. When you validate yourself through discipline, through consistency, through faith, you don't have to chase recognition. Recognition starts chasing you. The world doesn't need another person begging for approval. It needs someone who stands tall and says, I know who I am. Because when you know who you are, you move different. You talk different. You live different. You don't settle for less. You don't shrink for comfort. You don't fold under pressure. You stay grounded because your foundation is solid and it's built on your own belief. So stop waiting for somebody else to crown you. Stop waiting for the applause, the compliments, the confirmation. You are the validation you've been waiting for. And once you understand that, once you feel that nothing and no one will ever have power over your peace again, you know what's powerful. When you finally realize that everything you've been through, every heartbreak, every loss, every failure wasn't designed to destroy you. It was preparing you. It was shaping you into the person you needed to become. You've been looking at your pain like it disqualified you, but what if I told you it qualified you? You've been asking, why did I have to go through that? But maybe the real question is, who did that pain create in me? Because the truth is, you wouldn't have the strength you have now if life had gone easy. You wouldn't have the wisdom you walk with today if everything had gone your way. The version of you that's still standing, that's not weakness, that's resilience, that's power, that's purpose in motion. There comes a moment in your journey when you realize you can't keep seeing yourself as the broken one. You've got to start seeing yourself as the builder. You've got to start becoming the person your younger self needed when they were hurting. The one who didn't give up when things got hard. The one who kept believing even when they had every reason not to. The one who stood tall when everything around them was falling apart. You've got to step into that role, not because it's easy, but because it's time. You've spent enough seasons doubting your worth, questioning your strength, waiting for the right moment to feel healed. But healing doesn't come from waiting, it comes from walking. Every step you take, every choice to get up again when life knocks you down, that's healing. You can't fix what happened in the past, but you can redeem it by what you do now. You can decide that what once hurt you will now help someone else. You can take your pain and turn it into purpose. You can take your wounds and turn them into wisdom. That's how transformation works. It doesn't erase your past. It repurposes it. And hear me, you are not what happened to you. You are what you became through it. Stop identifying with your trauma and start identifying with your triumph. Stop introducing yourself by your scars and start introducing yourself by your strength. You are not the victim in your story anymore, you're the author. You get to decide how the next chapter reads. You get to decide if the pain was wasted or if it becomes the foundation of your power. Because that's the difference between surviving and rising. One stays in the story, the other rewrites it. When you look back at the hardest seasons of your life, I need you to start thanking them. Thank the rejection, it redirected you. Thank the failure, it humbled you. Thank the heartbreak, it taught you to love deeper. Thank the silence, it forced you to listen to your own voice. Everything that felt like it was breaking you was actually building something unshakable in you. That's why you can't stay stuck in bitterness. You can't keep rehearsing the pain, you've got to release it. Because the longer you hold on to what hurt you, the longer you delay what's meant to heal you. The world doesn't need a perfect you. It needs a real you, the one who's been through storms and still shows up with strength. The one who's walked through darkness and still brings light. The one who's been broken but refuses to stay that way. That's the version of you that inspires. That's the version that leads, that lifts, that loves from experience, not theory. You've got to become that person, the one your old self prayed to become, the one someone else out there needs to see to believe it's possible. Listen, your story is not a mistake. The pain you endured was the classroom for your purpose. Every tear watered the seed of your strength. Every setback was a setup for your next season. You might not have chosen what happened, but you can choose what it means. You can choose to rise from it. You can choose to let it make you softer, wiser, stronger. You can choose to stop running from your reflection and start recognizing your growth. Because the person staring back at you in that mirror, they've been through more than most will ever understand. And yet, they're still here, still breathing, still believing that alone is victory. And sometimes becoming that person means you've got to forgive yourself for staying too long, for trying too hard, for not knowing better back then. You've got to release that weight. You can't heal with your hands full of regret. You can't become new while holding on to old pain. Let it go, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. So the next time you look in that mirror, I don't want you to see the broken version anymore. I want you to see the rebuilder, the fighter, the overcomer. I want you to see someone who turned their wounds into wisdom, their pain into power, their story into strength. You are not here by accident. You're here because you refuse to quit. You're here because you've still got work to do, people to impact, purpose to fulfill. Change the way you see yourself, not as the one who suffered, but as the one who survived and soared. Because when you finally see yourself that way, the world can't help but see it too. And that's when everything begins to change.